Is getting married a solution for it? Should it be quit at once or gradually? There are people who say this is something natural, it's a human need. How would you respond to those people?
Almost everyone knows the troubles and harms of these, but those who are addicted, they think they will not experience these troubles. So let me tell you this for sure. If you don't quit this addiction, from the friends I know who got married, this is certain. 100% you will have those troubles. I used to be someone addicted to PM, even someone who couldn't get rid of this situation. Then one day I realized how nonsense my situation was. And first, I completely got rid of this addiction. Of course, when I was removing it from my life, I did a lot of research. And with those research results I got, so far I have helped many people quit this addiction, and I still continue to help them quit.
So, how did masturbation get to the addiction level for you?
I'd say because of time abundance. I mean, in the past, I really had a lot of free time and nothing to do, so I could easily fall into this sin. Well, I can already say the main reason why many friends start this addiction and then can't quit is free time. Of course, this is not the only reason. Reasons change from person to person. The second major reason that pushed me into this addiction was the environment, or rather the lack of it. For this case, the best example would be the rat park experiment, I guess. For those who don't, let me briefly explain. First, they take a mouse, put it in a cage with one type of addictive water and one type of normal water. As a result of this observation, they see that the mouse is addicted to that addictive water. Then, this time they take it and put it in a cage with different mice where it can spend time and has colorful balls. This time they see that the mouse is not addicted. I mean, actually humans are also like this. Now, if a person doesn't have a social circle where they can have fun, have a good time together, and talk about their problems, they turn inward. And by their creation, humans would like to be happy. If a person cannot get that happiness from their social circle, they turn inward, and their feelings and desires lead them to do it. You know, for example, now people who don't like their appearance, surroundings, or the environment they live in are generally in a state of inner depression. So they look at other people and think how great lives they have, how beautiful, how handsome the guy is, and so on. Such people are constantly depressed inside, and as I just said, humans are always looking for happiness. So for a moment to get out of that depression, the point they resort to happens to be again this addiction.
There are people who say this is something natural, it's a human need. How would you respond to those people?
Well, one of the sentences I hear the most is this is my need. Now, what we call a need means something that we can't live without. Like what, for example? It's like eating, drinking water, breathing, etc. So, if we think about it in this context, is there a person who has died because they did not experience porn and masturbation? Is there such an example? Porn is not a need, but a desire. Now, after saying this, a question I often get is this: I have a desire inside and a suitable organ for this. Don't these make it a need? And I tell them think about it like this. For any reason, let's say a friend started using drugs. If you ask him at first, is using drugs a need for you? He would say, no, I take it for pleasure. After that, if he increases its dosage and becomes addicted, does it then become a need for him? So this is actually something like that. A part of your brain can get disrupted by drugs, and you have a mouth to take drugs, but these don't make drugs a need. Just like that, having a desire inside and having an organ for it does not make it a need either. If you ask, what about after marriage? Is sexuality a need then? I can say, yes, in a way it's a need then. But right now, what is the issue we are talking about? Pornography and masturbation. These are not a need. So, to those who say these are a need, I want to ask this: is pornography and masturbation really sex? So do you categorize them as sexuality? I mean, here, let's say this: pornography and masturbation are desires, and sexuality is a need only after marriage.
So, how does this situation reach the level of addiction in a person?
Now let's mention something that will explain both this topic and many others. Here, our brothers studying medicine should know this better. There are certain neurotransmitters secreted in the human brain. Like what? For example, serotonin, dopamine, etc. Here, I will talk about dopamine, the happiness hormone. What is this dopamine? Dopamine is our neurotransmitter for being happy and feeling pleasure. So in the human brain, there is a mechanism that we call the reward system. Humans, thanks to this part, enjoy the things they do in daily life. This dopamine, while drinking water, eating, studying, when walking and so on, it's constantly released. Now here, people may have this question in their minds: if in everything I do, a certain amount of dopamine is released, then why do I feel unhappy sometimes? Okay, let me explain it like this. Right across where dopamine is released, there are some receptors. The released dopamine comes and attaches there. So the pleasure we get from an activity It's not related to the released dopamine, but to the receptors that perceive it. That is, from here, we get this. The more receptors a person has, the more pleasure they get from the activities they do. I mean, let's think about it this way. Let's say the weather outside is very nice. You're inside, what would you do? You would open the windows and all, then fine air comes in. But imagine that suddenly a dust storm breaks out. What would you do? The first thing you close would be the windows. Now the brain works in the same way. Since pornography and masturbation release a very high amount of dopamine, to keep its balance, the brain is forced to shut down many of its receptors, and this ends many of the pleasures you would get from daily life. Let's say in one of my hands I have the best kind of dessert, and in my other hand I have healthy meal. Which one would you choose? Now here, because it's more delicious, people would say dessert. So just like that, when asked to choose either spending time with family or with pornography or masturbation, spending time with family releases 100 units of dopamine, while pornography and masturbation release a high amount of dopamine, like 500 units. So instead of spending time with family, laughing and having fun with friends outside, unfortunately, people can end up isolating themselves and turning to pornography and masturbation. The ending of many friendships, the decrease in communication with your surroundings, not wanting to spend time with family. The root cause to all of these is actually this PM. Two options are presented to you, and because it releases more dopamine, you choose pornography and masturbation. I can say the reason it gets to the addiction level is this.
What are the harms of pornography?
Recently, I read a medical journal, and according to the research explained there, pornography causes the brains of addicted people to shrink. By addicted people, I mean those who watch it constantly. So just think about it. You are watching pornography and your brain keeps shrinking. Of course, we don't have to consider this shrinking in terms of only its volume. There is also a decrease in its function. This is what many professors have said. There was also another thing, the structure called the left putamen, which is responsible for responding to sexual stimuli. It was said that its function also decreases. So this left putamen is responsible for responding to sexual stimuli. And if it gets damaged, and if there is a decrease in its function, you almost don't get aroused. So at that point, in terms of sexuality, there is not much left in you, you don't get aroused. And I can clearly say that's one of its aspects regarding marriage.
After quitting masturbation, do its negative effects disappear?
Yes, after a certain period of time, recoveries begin. In the body, first, the sperm transformation system recovers. Regulating this can take time depending on the addiction, but on average, it recovers within 70 days. Of course, this is not the only thing that is fixed. I mean, we listed its harms like forgetfulness, memory weakness, and lack of attention. And it makes people obsessive, etc. Also over time, because you keep constantly improving yourself, and now the body doesn't need to spend energy in one place all the time. These harmful effects recover at some point, and people restore their old feelings. Of course, the sooner this happens, the better. So no one should think, I'll continue now and quit later. Definitely don't get into such a mindset, because the harm you do to your body affects your personal development a lot. Many things you can do right now might fall behind. So I recommend quitting right now.
What do you think about people who say, I do it once a week or once a month? How harmful can it be?
There are dozens of substances that leave the body along with sperm, which are really important for the body. So even if you do it only once, you would still be doing that harm to your body. Let's say you bought a new iPhone. What is its purpose of production? Communicating, surfing on the net, and things like that, right? But if you take it and once in a while use it to hammer nails into the wall, how logical would that be? So now, why would a person perform an act against their nature and creation? I mean, even if it would be once in a while, it still wouldn't make sense. And they know it has harmful effects, so why would they do it? Actually, it's kind of similar to this, cigarette addiction. At first 1-2 cigarettes, then a pack of cigarettes, and actually there are many of those telling me these things. Like they say, it happens now and then, no problem. After that they say, brother, I can't get rid of this. I receive such messages a lot, so they should just never do it. We already said the sperm transformation system after a while recovers itself. And then regular nocturnal emissions would start to happen. After these start, they won't feel the urge to do it anymore, so they shouldn't do it.
Is getting married a solution for it?
No, it's not. Why? If it is at the addiction level, unfortunately, marriage might not be a solution. Now, this has many scientific and psychological reasons, but I want to tell you something. Recently, a very close friend of mine experienced it. My friend is someone who was trying to get rid of this addiction. Actually, he struggled with this issue a lot. He went to doctors, used various medications, spoke with psychologists, but he couldn't get rid of it. One day he called me and said, the solution to this is marriage. I will get married. Then he got married. And after he got married, we didn't talk for a long time. Later, when we talked and shared our troubles, he explained what happened. He said, for the first 2-3 months, we were very good. We had a normal marriage. We were going well. Then my wife started to seem like a normal person to me, and actually, because I couldn't enjoy my sexual relationships, after every sexual encounter, I continued to do masturbation. Because of this, honestly, I am not happy with my marriage. I want to divorce. Now, I know his wife too. She is also one of my close friends. When I called her, she also complained a lot. She said, he started to see me just as a friend, a buddy. He doesn't want to take me to bed anymore. I feel like he hates me. I love my husband very much, but I can't take this anymore. I will get divorced. And after that, they got divorced. If a person is addicted and thinks marriage is a solution, they are wrong. Definitely first they should quit the addiction. Only after that they should consider marriage. What we call sex is not something done just with the body. The soul and feelings are also included there. Now, since masturbation is only a physical pleasure and does not involve emotions, after a while, if people are addicted, they will again start seeking it. So, they will start looking for that physical pleasure and it will drag their marriage into trouble. Actually, many people are already experiencing this. Today, if you check forum sites, many people talk about it. And if you ask, what if people are married and addicted, what can they do? Getting closer to their spouses emotionally might be a solution for this problem.
What was the biggest reason that made you quit?
The biggest reason that made me quit was learning about the troubles I would face after getting married. I mean, at that time, I was a student, and only students know the stress of being a student. Back then, there was exam stress, university stress. After that, one day, I stopped and thought. I said, why am I going through all this stress so that I can have a better life after getting married? Well, it's not just students. Today, there are millions of brothers, sisters working outside. So some of them are working to get married, and others are working to continue their marriages more easily and to live a more comfortable life. Think about it. You spend your 20-25 years in school and the rest in working. For what? After getting married, to live a comfortable life. But even after getting married, they cannot be happy. Why? Because you did not give up a small pleasure at the moment. Honestly, this seemed very silly to me, and at that moment I decided to remove it from my life. Now, since I am very sensitive about marriage, this worked for me. But because characters and natures are different, people may have different reasons for themselves. For example, this is very interesting. I have a friend who loved football a lot. I mean, he loved it too much to play on artificial turf pitches and all. One day I told him, if you quit this addiction, you will be more active on the field. You have tryouts ahead to get selected for the youth team. If you quit, you will be more energetic and play better. I told him these. He said, okay, I will try. Then he tried. When he really saw the difference on the field, then he completely removed it from his life. Now he is already being trained in the youth squad of a good team.
Knowing that it's harmful, why does a person still repeat the same mistake over and over again?
Because we are humans and we can make mistakes. This is in our nature and it can repeat. Because of this, one should not fall into despair. So somehow this effort must continue. Now, there is also this. When feelings come forward, the mind falls behind. Really, because there are intense feelings at that moment, the mind remains in the background. We mentioned its troubles, like the difficulties after marriage, different kinds of problems, and so on. We counted many things, right? But because the mind falls behind, people cannot think of these facts at that moment. What should be done to keep the mind in the foreground? We need to keep our spirituality firm a bit. Someone sent me a message recently, and I asked the same question to him. You know you will regret it. Why do you still keep doing it? Then he said, Brother, I know many of its troubles, but when feelings become intense at that moment, I don't want to think about those troubles. So, feelings come forward and the mind falls behind. And because of this, it's easy to fall into that mistake again.
Should it be quit at once or gradually?
It's a really good question. Now, from the people I dealt with, I have understood this. If a person truly wants to quit, they can quit at once. Many people write to me because of this. Conscience feels guilty. There is a certain guilt in their conscience then, and they write to relieve it. I tell them some things. At that moment, they say, okay, thanks, but they can fall into it again. So, what is important here is whether they really wanted to quit or not. Those really wanted to quit, quit at once. I have witnessed it too. Now, to those who want to completely remove this addiction from their lives, I give a tactic. Through that tactic, the mind can actually come forward. It's like this. I ask them to take a paper and pen and write these 4 questions. Then I want them to think about those and find solutions. Why am I addicted? What are the reasons pushing me into this addiction? Why do I need to quit this addiction? And finally, how can I get rid of this addiction? If they write these questions, analyze themselves, and solve the issues, it becomes easier to quit at once. Why? Because this time, they are not getting tactics from outside. He himself comes up with something, and so it works. And thanks to this, when crises come, these tactics come to his mind at that moment. This time, instead of an external tactic, he starts to get to know himself and then to look for solutions by himself. and in this way it becomes easier for him to get rid of it. With this tactic, there are dozens of friends who quit it. Actually, one of them is my best friend. Also, almost everyone today knows the troubles and harms of these things, but addicts usually think they won't experience these troubles. If a person can establish the thought, if I don't quit this addiction, I will definitely experience these troubles in himself, it will be easier for him to get rid of the addiction. So let me say this for sure. If you don't quit this addiction, the friends I've dealt with so far stand as a proof, by the way. After marriage, 100% you will experience troubles. On this topic, I received a message recently. Brother, I have been married for 5 months. Can I now stop having sexual intercourse? Here, it comes from this addiction again. So convince yourself that you will experience these troubles, which you will if you don't quit. After establishing these, then you can start taking steps to remove it from your life, and once you realize its harm, you automatically take action. Actually, there are many things that I want to add, but there is a painful issue which hurts me a lot on this topic. I believe that it all ends with the family, the parents. Today, when children cry, many parents give a smartphone to the child immediately. My relatives do it too. They make them to watch TV, show them cartoons, and do many other similar things. On this matter, I ask parents, please don't do such things, because cartoons are not really innocent, or the child grows a bit. Then, the parents send them out to the streets with the impression, do whatever you want. One of the first places the child goes is the internet cafe. So a father should really not allow his child to spend hours in an internet cafe. I mean, just let your child grow up with you, laugh with you, have fun with you. Let them know that they can be happy spending time with family too. So the basic point is, if parents can keep their child away from social media, some things will get better. So let's suppose a child wants to watch cartoons and cries a lot for it. He says, give me the phone and all. Now, when that child grows up, when some desires increase even slightly, if they are alone, what they watch won't be cartoons anymore. I mean, many people think like this. The age of watching pornography is 15, 16. It has increased a bit. No. Right now, the age to start watching pornography is 9. So think about the rest yourself. And to those who ask, what can we do about education and awareness? I recently saw a nice post on your page. It was something like, teach your children the Quran. The Quran will already teach your children what they need to learn. I really like that message. So, if a child can succeed in adopting the morals of the Quran, if they can be successful about growing up with the fear of God, I honestly don't think they will have these issues on this matter. Also, actually, I want to confess this. After this addiction left my life, there was a void. And what we generally recommend is to add something to your life instead of that addiction. At that point, whatever I added to my life felt like it wasn't the right thing. Thanks to your channel, I got to know cultivate. So far, I can say that cultivate has provided the greatest benefit for me. With its staff's education, their attention and services and all, in a very short time, it has strengthened my faith a lot. And finally, I want to say this. What is human? When you look at it, the rising sun, this world, these countless blessings, fruits, various flavors, what are they for? They are for humans, right? I mean, I hope this phrasing is okay. A human who is so valuable in the sight of God, I think they are not that helpless to be defeated by a feeling. That's what I know, and this is what I say.